Hi, everyone, and welcome to Happy Not Satisfied, the show where we talk about finding joy in the process of growth. I'm Ellie Morrison. This is Dan Morrison, and we are so thrilled to have our wonderful guest today, San Antonio artist Gio DiZurita, a very close friend of mine and creative collaborator of many years. Gio has quickly become, over the past 10 years, one of the most renowned local artists. Her works have been sold internationally. She has collaborated with brands such as BMW, the San Antonio International Airport, and her recent exhibition, No Feeling is Final, was sold out. So Gio, we cannot wait to talk to you about being happy, not satisfied, and we're so happy that you're here. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure being here with you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. And No Feeling is Final is such an incredible title. We were just talking about that, and we'll get into that more, but it just resonates with me so much, and I think it's aligned with the happy, not satisfied message. Yes. So, the first thing I want to talk about, I kind of want to just jump right into some mindset things and get to the interesting nitty gritty here. As an artist, as a creative, really just as a person, it's, I think, safe to assume people have faced rejection, right? But I would imagine as someone who has made a career as an artist, you maybe have faced more of that in a more intense way than others. So I would love to hear about maybe what that's felt like for you, how you've overcome it, how you kind of move through it and keep going.
Yes, well, I think rejection is definitely my biggest teacher, because obviously nobody likes it, right? So it's kind of like a very messed up relationship. We grow up thinking, the world might not be that hard on me, because of how we are growing up in our houses. Even if we have difficult childhoods, I think we're not prepared for rejection. But now, after like 11 years of doing this, I've become friends with it. I mean, I still don't like it, but it's one of those like relationship where it's like family member you can't get rid of, and you just have to accept it and kind of love it that way. And I think it has helped me understand that I cannot make everybody happy, not even myself at times, So understanding that when somebody doesn't want your work or doesn't want your presence or doesn't care for what you have to say, it's just not my crowd. My crowd will come the right moment, the right time, if I'm doing the genuine thing. So it's most of the time what guides me to kind of find myself in the right direction,
I say rejection is redirection.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I've come to believe over the past many years. And, we were just over at our friend Kelly O'Connor's house, also a local artist.
Amazing.
And
artist.
When I was with her, she said something the other day that I thought was really interesting about how, as an artist, your art will fall in and out of favor based on trends, just of culture and all of it. But it's you just have to keep going.
Yes.
You have to keep going and growing and putting out work despite getting that rejection sometimes. So I love that. And then when I was with you recently in your studio, which was magical to come visit your studio and your art house, which now you live close to here downtown, which is so exciting. But you said that you were going through a lot of inner exploration over the past few years.
Yes.
And I'd love to dive into that, particularly through the lens of how we talk about happy, not satisfied, because it really struck me how you have been focusing on authenticity and growth and really leaning into the fact that, like, the No Feeling is Final. It's not always about putting yourself out to the world as what you think people will want you to be. Yeah. And I feel like as a journey as an artist, that is so important, is finding the comfortability level with, okay, today this is me. It's not what these people expect of me, but I'm going to show up authentically regardless. And I find it really incredible to watch your work reflect this inner work that you're doing. As far as happy, not satisfied, one of the topics we like to talk about is I'll be happy once and kind of learning to work through not being that way. Especially when you're wanting to achieve certain milestones, and let's say as an artist it's completing an exhibition or if it's completing the next piece. How have you worked over the past 10, 11 years to get beyond that I'll be happy once I'm mindset?
I think I'm still working through that. I mean, it's you're never gonna find the right answer, and it depends on the person, it depends on the day. Sometimes, especially being a female, we go through so many changes. And what I have learned, though, that being comfortable in the uncomfortable times is the best thing I can do. So instead of me wanting to control situations and expecting something out of whatever's gonna come out, what has helped me is like understanding that my life and the way I live is my real masterpiece.
Life is art.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the artwork that I do, it's just an extra thing that happens because I now understand that for the past maybe 20 years of my life, I think I have been lying to myself, and it's just been like 10 years of inner work where I'm finally understanding that I was just a product of whatever I thought people expected of me. And now it's like, where are my boundaries? What do I like? And just finding that out has been the part of my art. So my pieces of art change all the time, and I have this constant war with the art world where they say, well, you gotta, to be a very good artist, you have to have a style that is recognizable. And that has been my greatest and most difficult pain through the whole thing, because for the longest time I wanted to find that, and I just couldn't keep myself doing one style. And then I understood, hey, it's not only on the painting, that's just another area where it shows, but you don't dress the same, you don't speak the same, you don't like the same friends all the time, you don't go to the same restaurants, you don't go to the gym and do the same routine, even though I should. Like, I have this constant need of evolving. Like, whatever I did yesterday might not work for me today, and understanding that will also mean many times I'm gonna contradict myself, and people are going to be like, well, you used to be this way, or you are that way. And me understanding that if I don't even know exactly who I am every day, how are people gonna know? What would they know more than I do? And so diving into that acceptance of maybe my style is to never find one definite one, because I am not here to please the eyeballs out there. I am here to connect through my stories and my emotions with the right people, the right crowd. And that might change over time through the styles and the stories. So if a collector might like my black and white, very minimalistic style, they might hate my very colorful, like fun stuff. And I had people in the past that called me like the queen of color and this and that, and oh, you're so bubbly and so happy. And that was a part of me. That is a part sometimes, but sometimes I want to go emo and completely like fearless and be afraid of me, respect me. And then other days I'm like this little child that wants to play dolls and just have fun and wigs on, So now I'm living my life however I want it, regardless if it's gonna be likable or not, because now I understand there is a crowd for that. I just have to maybe tap into the right people.
That's inspiring to
I
me.
have so many follow-up questions to that. My first one would be, though, do you think that your acceptance of your style as not having a style kind of makes you more prolific because you're not waiting for the inspiration within that one style to come out?
I think is one of those things that some people might call it a curse, and to me now accepting it is kind of like my power. Because whatever bores me one day or I don't feel connected to, I don't have to wait for inspiration, because there is always something else I have to talk about. And I personally that's one of the things that I always do besides drinking water and eating something is inner work every day. I wake up either between 5 a.m., 6:30 a.m. to have those alone times for myself. And either if I don't feel, or I go to the gym, I have to come back and write and paint and do something for me, not for exhibitions, not thinking how to sell it, because selling point is very important when you want to make a living. But it can also very easily misguide you, because I did that for a long time, and it worked. Because if you connect to what people want and just do it and give it to them, you're smart. Yeah, you're a salesperson, but it hurts the inner artist in you if you're not really painting and creating and talking about the things that truly speak to you. Otherwise, it's like, yeah, I'm making a living out of art, but I'm not doing the art I want to do.
Yes.
I'm not painting in the way I want to paint because people are expecting this, and now I'm just giving them that so I can keep the money coming. So thankfully, now I think and it took me a long time, but now I can say, this is my new style, this is my new art coming up, and whoever likes it will come, and whoever doesn't might criticize it, and that's just part of the world.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little more about the work that you've done over like the last, because you've talked about doing work and you're accepting this, and it seems like you're in a really great place with it, but I'd be curious if you're willing to share a little bit more specifically, what have you done to help yourself there?
Well, I went through a whole period of, there were several things, and there's several things that have shifted my life very abruptly. But I think the most recent thing that happened was my divorce before the pandemic and all of that. And it was very difficult because I had to understand that for 10 years I was with somebody that it was amazing, worked out then, and suddenly people change, I changed, and just like my art and my story and my feelings and everything, and things didn't work out anymore. And to come to the conclusion that I have to see life like, and these changes and this pain that we go through, like little memories that will serve me in some point. Let's just imagine I'm traveling and I have this backpack, and now I have this pain and I have this memory and I have to let go of this person. And so you put things in and you let go of other stuff so that you have enough energy to move on to the next adventure, not knowing where that's gonna lead. And so during that pandemic, obviously everybody went through many different things, and part of it was realizing like, we have my ex-husband and I, we work together still till this day. We are family, but like I had to let go of that part of me, and I didn't want to for the longest time. He didn't want to either, so it was like heartbreaking for a long time until it was time. And during that time, when I was in pain and very confused of not knowing what to do, I created Dancing with Ghosts. That's the first collection I ever used black and white as part of the theme. And the whole collection was inspired by this idea that sometimes we don't understand that we own the power inside our minds to let go of things that have been haunting us. And we think we just have to keep allowing people to our palace, right? Like the palace in the paintings represent the mind, and the ghost, the memories. So through the whole collection, as I was painting, I was liberating myself from my expectations of my own self, the story I was telling about my future, and what you thought it was gonna end up happening didn't,
It never does.
Yes, but it was also a play with this idea of, when at least I was a kid that loved fairy tales and the happily ever after, so this was like a dark comedy kind of thing where it's like, what happened to that ending, huh? Yeah. And the interesting thing about that collection, I have decided I am not putting an end to it. It doesn't have a finished piece. It will be done the day I die. That's gonna be a forever. I'll come back with new pieces through my whole life and do another Dancing with Ghosts, blah blah blah, and Dancing with Ghosts 3.0, whatever, like because that's just kind of me saying, hey, there's always a new change, there's always a new interesting thing you're adding to this story of your life. So at least it's not boring. It's always exciting and different and very telenovela style for those who are into that. So yeah, at least if there was ever a show, I will watch it about my life, because it's like, that happened again? Oh man, I thought you learned the first time, and it's like, okay, well, but that was the first time I decided to paint something totally opposite to the expected thing, because up until that moment, everything before was beautiful, happy, colorful, always trying to paint what I wanted to attract. And that was for a long period. But then I tapped into remembering when I first started painting ever in my life. I was a kid and I would paint only dark stuff. Because I was painting my pain and my way out. And I had forgotten about that because I was so much into this toxic positivity. And that's why I say I lied to myself for so many years. But I think it was also a coping mechanism, because that was my body, my mind, and my whole self saying, you're too weak to see reality the way it is and take it as it is. So let's develop tough skin, and eventually you'll get to really dig deep into the traumas and the issues you have. But right now, you need to go happy-go-lucky, do it. Enjoy your life. And then this past year hit, and I got into a depression that I couldn't understand, because everything was finally good. Like, in my life.
I can't tell you how much I relate to that. Conundrum. This past year we have been aligned, because after having a child, for me, it's like you get through that time, and there were many other shifts that were happening. But once we got back to San Antonio, I was like, okay, we're back and everything's fine. I unraveled. I absolutely unraveled. Dan can attest. Well, he pulled me through every day. But part of the only way out of that, of me processing things and making sense of them, was to do exactly what you just said. And okay, I'm done with toxic positivity. I need to create. I need to write my way out. I need to get therapy.
Nice Hamilton reference.
Hamilton, write my way out. Yeah. Go to therapy. I need to understand and have the courage to face these past experiences that were tough on me head on. And I feel for the first time that a lot of my work and my writing and just who I am on a day-to-day basis is not bubbly and presentational as much anymore, unless it's a very truly joyful, authentic moment. But it's not a constant state, especially parenting a toddler or a toddler. There's no constant to anything, Everything's an adventure, everything's a surprise. So it's really kind of helped me just ground. And I think that's why I was so excited when I came over to see you a few months ago. And for the first time, I really saw this in your work, and it spoke to me because I've been in the middle of the same thing. And, when you start your family, when you have a child, it's always that fairy tale that's presented to you, right? Like you've checked this box off of something in life and whatever, but there's a duality. There's a duality to that. And you're grieving while you're glowing, it's like a very big transition. And I don't think we hear enough about it, or at least I hadn't. And so it's been kind of a year for me of just getting through that and facing things head on and working through them. And this podcast has been such a help for me to do that, because we're talking to everybody about how everybody's working through things all the time.
Yes.
And you said something that I want to go back to about your Ghost series, where you were talking about basically there is no end. And that is something that we like to talk about a lot with Happy Not Satisfied. It's something that I think you really came around to realizing maybe like during the pandemic time. Yeah. Of, there is no end to the work that we're doing. There is no end to the growth. There is no like, okay, I'm going to achieve this one thing and then it's going to be over. It's, if you look at it like that, you're going to be unhappy all the time, because you're just chasing the next thing. And I love that you're doing a There Is No End to this series, because it's really true. I mean, you have to have some sort of channel as a creative that allows you to evolve.
Yes.
And I relate to a lot of the things you're saying just from, years ago, going down the content creation journey, and still to this day trying to figure out what to monetize, what to never monetize, because you have to have those lanes for yourself to find. And if you work to monetize everything, then you feel, one of the things I've worked through for the past couple of years is when you're giving your creativity to others, right, for the sole purpose and motivation of that, then you lose it in yourself. And so you have to honor that. And one of the things we also talk about is early morning wake ups, and how to give yourself time and carving out that. And I used to do that, and then I had a child, and it's been different. But Dan still does it. He wakes up at 4 a.m. But it is so important, especially as a creative. And I think a lot of times we hear people say, oh, well, creatives are, they're just not disciplined, and they're all over the place, and they're spontaneous. But in order to produce prolifically, you have to be disciplined. You have to have routine.
Yes.
Can you share what your studio routine is? I think that's super interesting to ask artists.
Yes. For me, like I said, I try to wake up between 5 and 6:30. I go directly to the gym. That's where I listen to either podcasts that I'm into or music that I want to dance to, depending on my mood, because like I said, every day I wake up with a different mood. If I'm angry, I listen to a podcast. If I'm happy, I get to the dancing part as I'm at the gym. And then I come back, I make myself a coffee, I turn all my candles that I can, and I put music, classical music at this point, not dancing music. And then I just sit there for a little bit and either write or read. After that, I take my shower. But I like a hot tub with candles and just classical music as I am there meditating and literally thinking, this water is cleansing my energy, my mind, my soul. So it's not just a shower, but it became kind of like my way to tell my body, my mind, prepare. We are full of energy. All the bad is going, like all these things. And so I have developed that routine now, and I have my breakfast. And after that, until it's 8:39, I start answering messages and all of the other stuff. But before that, it's all me. Me. I don't care to answer anything. Sometimes if I feel like it, I will. So you might get a random text at 6 a.m. from me that I didn't respond 2 days ago. But it's just because I'm like, finally I get to do this. But that's what I like doing. It's all for me, and then for the art, and then for the money. So that way... because me time is me and my higher power.
Yes.
And after I tackle those two things and unite them, then I can create. And then I can think money.
I love that. I love that so much. What a good sequence. Me, art, money. I'm going to start following that in my day-to-day structure.
I think it's important for someone that's a creative to say that you have to live. You know, I think we go to the extremes of like you're either one or the other, and there's a crossover that exists. I also want to say I think a lot of what you're talking about applies to people that are not professional artists. Yeah. I think everyone's creative. I think that there's a big misunderstanding of what that word means and how to tap into that. I think everybody has innate creativity, whether they want to believe it or not. But people who are working in more traditional jobs, this idea of there is no end and all of that is just as true as it is for someone that's creating art. And I think it's easy to lose sight of that and think, well, I can't ever be like that. I'm not a professional artist. That's not my lifestyle. That's never going to work for me. And I would say, maybe not every detail of what you just talked about, but just from my own experience, we have, he turned 1.5 today, Leo.
Yes, our son.
Guy.
Yeah,
but
1.5.
We have a 1.5-year-old, and I wake up at 4 a.m. every day, and I don't do the exact things you do, but I do a lot of them. And I'm only saying that because it's not necessarily I don't have time. It's what am I prioritizing and finding ways to make yourself feel good. I think, like I always say, you can't put yourself last to put others first. So all that applies. But I think the big point I'm trying to make is this idea of there is no end in whatever your work is, whatever your life is, whatever your hobbies are. that is a universal message that's very easy to lose sight of. And the
Yes.
example I use a lot is with my grandparents, who like were fed this, what I think is a total scam lie of retirement in its truest form, of literally retire. They were super active, involved in the community, did all these things, and then all of a sudden they retired, and it was lazy boys in front of the TV from the time they woke up to the time they went to bed. And I mean, they were amazing people, and I'm not faulting them. That literally was the reality that they thought they wanted, but they were taken from us way too soon because of that. You know, you lose your purpose, you lose your health, you lose all these things, because if that's your end, then your actual end is going to come much sooner.
Yes,
And,
I agree. And it's interesting. I was telling this to you before I became an artist. I was a caregiver for the elderly.
Yeah.
So one thing I learned, I mean, many things from them, but one thing I learned is that we must never look for the end or goal of life to be not doing anything.
Yeah.
Because that
Absolutely.
kills the soul,
Yes.
the mind, and
Yes.
you know, like we
Yes.
gotta always have, even if it's something creative. So that's something I learned from Tom. I used to take care of him. He was blind. He was a super bubbly, awesome guy. I think he was 84 or something like that, and learned so much from him. I called him Grandpa, and he never stopped. Like, he was blind and still changing light bulbs. I will have to get there and be like, Grandpa,
You say
get out of the ladder.
blind. He was blind?
He was blind. And he will be in a
Wow,
ladder,
what a
just kind
legend.
of touching things.
Yeah.
And I will just be getting home, like,
Oh
to
my
take care of
gosh.
him. And
Yeah.
he will be, like, doing the most random stuff. But he would tell me, like, don't do everything for me.
Yeah.
And I understood after. And, like, it was years and years of taking care of him that I noticed I want to be like that in the
Yeah.
sense of active.
Yes.
Always active. And he would always say, okay, take care, Gio, bye-bye, I'm gonna go dance. He was in a community at this time, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to give them the routine they have to do for the day, and you know, we gotta keep the juices going.
Yeah.
He would always
I
say
love
that,
that.
and I was like, so true. That's
Yeah.
why he was blind and older and everything, but he had the best personality. And
Yeah.
most people there were miserable. They were sad. They were not talking. They were not moving. They were
Yeah.
just watching TV. And he was active. And everybody loved him. So that's one of the things I don't ever want to not do art. Like, I've thought in the weirdest and worst of my nightmares, if I lose my arms or something, I'm like, I'll learn to paint with my mouth, with my feet.
Yeah.
If I lose both feet, I'll paint with my hair. And, you know,
Well,
like,
they're
go
doing
around, like,
they're
I'll
doing
do
chips in your
something.
brain now. You could just think about it and something will
Yeah.
draw for you. Yeah.
Oh man, if I could do that, I could paint even better. But the point is, like, it's a beautiful thing to think that you'll never really get there, because
Yes.
what happens
Takes
when
the pressure off.
It does.
Yeah.
And also, if we think about it, every time we want something material and we get it, the excitement goes away.
Yes.
You are like the happy not satisfied spokesperson. Like, so many things you're saying are so aligned with what I love thinking about and talking about.
Yes.
Because I mean I learned this in a very serious way when I was a band director, and there were these competitions after competitions, and like, so I put all my worth and value and I'll be happy once we win this competition.
Yeah.
And it was like, we won the first one and that was the best. Like, you know, that was the best
First
feeling.
time. Ooh.
It was
Yes.
amazing. And then after that, but then even still, it's not like I tell people, I'm not sitting here feeling happy because of a band contest that we won 9 years ago. You know, like, so clearly that's a fallacy that I'll be
Right.
happy once
Yeah.
and every time we were very successful. I have a lot of success competitively, but every time it was like the high was lower and lasted less amount. And then actually it was just, I was beneath baseline and then trying to get relief, and that was it. And I was like, this is not how to live. Like, I've got to find another way.
Yeah,
Yes.
2019, he was just like, I've got to figure something else. Or was it 2019? Yeah, summer,
Yeah.
2019. Like, something has to change, and something has to change fast. And from one day to
That
the
is not,
next.
it's not a sustainable way of
No.
living. And like, you talked about being in depression for a while. Like, I totally relate to that, because that's where it will inevitably take you if
Yes.
you can't get yourself out of that vicious cycle.
Yes, and I think one of the also fallacies is that I remember this beautiful. I think she's a beautiful soul. I don't think she meant it in a bad way, but I remember a lady came to me when I had just won an award, fashion artist or brand of the year or something. And that year I had won like 3 awards. So this girl comes to me and she's like hugging me and she's like, wow, Gio, can you think about your life? Like, you're already in your highest. There's nothing higher than this. And I was thinking, hold on. This, oh my God. I'm just getting started. I mean, awards are great, but awards do not define me and my creativity. And I haven't won. I mean, I haven't even applied to win anything. And I feel way better because I don't feel like I need a physical thing that has a name tag in there saying I am great at something. You know, like I didn't even go to school, and if I could, I would have. But I don't have a degree. Yeah. And I believe in myself enough today that I am in the most beautiful state in my life, but it's not the highest because no feeling is final. So today I am here and I'm able to enjoy this because I know it won't last forever, but not in a sad way. It's like, I'm loving this. Like right now, right here, I'm in the highest I've ever felt. Maybe tomorrow I'm not in that state, but I'll know that is not final either. Nothing is permanent. And I think if we see it in the correct way of life, is like, then we can really enjoy it. Like this meal we have sometimes in front of us, we are watching TV, answering messages, eating, and we're not even enjoying. Right. Our palates are not really in there in the present. Our brain doesn't even know we're receiving food, you know, and little things that are not small, but we call it the little things today is like a meal, a house, like those are huge things. They are. The fact that we are in a place where there's no bombs coming at us, you know, like there's so many things we can be understanding. So that's the beauty of seeing duality is like when you are very low, then you are like, right now I'm so thankful. I'm not depressed. I'm not sad. I am in such a good state, and because I know how low it can feel and how bad, and you know, wanting to be dead instead of feeling that way is like where I was, you know. So today, being able to be here, have conversations with people that I can align with, my, you know, that I admire, I see, like it's nothing small. Right. You know?
I love that.
No feeling is final is really like hitting me right in the heart.
Oh my God. The next time that you turn to me and you're like, I'm worried about this, and be like, no feeling is final.
What I was going to say was like, I definitely have my little bouts of, I call it being in a funk, you know, it's not, I don't think it's depression. It's just like, I'm aware enough now to know like I'm not feeling my best, and I am aware I'm not feeling my best, but it may not go away right away. It's just kind of live here with me. And I think that's my own version of saying no feeling is final, but like having that little mantra, I'm adding that to my arsenal because it's true on both sides, like the highs and the lows, you know, and we want to feel everything, high, low, and everything in between, but it gives you perspective and helps you know that like the sun is going to come out tomorrow. And eventually this feeling is going to be like, you're going to laugh about it, you know, or you're going to totally forget that it was even there.
I do think this means that we are going to have to collect a no feeling is final piece at some point.
It might just mean that.
I'm not sure how soon, but we are going to need one.
It's an incredible phrase.
And you know, interesting, I wish you guys were at that exhibition, because that specific series of works were not meant to be exhibited. Like when I started doing them, they were my personal notes, because my therapist literally said, Gio, if you have insomnia or if you can't sleep, like start waking up and writing about it, so that your brain thinks it's really like cleansing it, and you can then go to sleep. I didn't pay attention to that for a long time until I was like not being able to sleep can really take a hit. And so I remember like writing, and then reading what I was writing. I was like, this is really not my thing. I'm not good at writing like this. What am I doing? Who am I fooling, you know? So I started ripping it apart. I was crying. It was messy. The whole floor was filled with like pieces of my own notes. And then I started like making a collage and pouring paint and making an angry face. And so I called that one rage. And then I painted on top of something else. I ripped it apart, the whole thing, and then pasted, like, so I just started like doing my thing, which is painting visually. And I understood everything's my like the time for writing, putting my thoughts together, getting all worked up, allowing myself to cry, breaking the art pieces were part of the process, like that's kind of the way I see myself. I even made a piece called I'm Not Broken, I'm Just an Abstract Masterpiece. And that
I love that. Your titles are just so good.
So good.
And that was kind of my way saying like, you can see me, maybe I am broken because I'm tons of shattered pieces, but I am now put together in my own way. I decided how to, and now I admire the person I am. So I am glad I broke and then put myself back in place the way it was meant to be. Like if I was just a random, very simple base, and now I'm this very artistic and maximalist base because I put all these chunks of everything I like, then be it. Like, it's messy, it's not for everybody, but it's real and it's what I want, and I'm enjoying and embracing that part of my life. And like I said, like finally I can really think of myself as a kid and be like, hey, little Gio, like I got you. I'm the adult you've always needed, and you keep like looking for it outside, in a relationship, in a friendship, in someone else, right? And right now I'm like, I got you. We can do it. Like, I can do it. I'm that adult, So even though I kind of feel like a kid still, I have this other side of me that is very motherly to myself. And that part of me is new, is beautiful, it's very protective. So I also like it because it's showing me like to be a little bit more aggressive when I need to put boundaries out there, when I don't feel safe and things like that. And before I felt like I need a hero. I need I need a man. And now it's like I don't need an outside person. I need me to be strong enough to take over.
Be your own hero. There's your next exhibit.
Oh my God. I love it so much. And it's interesting that you talk about being maternal to yourself, but I think that there's an element of that I've experienced too, is becoming a mother to someone else. You get strong in ways that you never thought you could. And that fight in you, that you're using it for your own self, but when you, like me looking at my son, I'm like, okay, I'm going to protect you. That instinct comes out. And then you do feel less like, I don't need anybody. Like, what was I thinking before? Who was I searching for? What validation did I need? And I think now it's just such a different emotional space to be in, of like, yeah, hit me with it. Before that was my worst nightmare. It was like, oh my God, somebody's going to criticize me. I made somebody feel bad, whatever. And not that I ever want to make anybody feel bad, but contorting yourself in order to be and present as who and what you think everybody has given you the signal that they need and want from you. That's exhausting, and it doesn't work forever, And so I relate so much to what you're saying. And I'm just so happy to be home and reconnecting with you and building our friendship from this space at this age, because it's such an exciting time of like, being able to hand pick these souls that you want to be around. And the other thing that I'm thinking about and listening to you is like, there is something that is so real as humans about having all these different emotions at the same time, and learning how to use that and how to roll with it and how to fold it into what you're creating and how to just, use your internal feelings to give a voice for everybody to relate through your work. And I think that as artists, that is our job, like in life, we're sort of put here in some way to, I feel very courageous. Whenever I put something out that is so real, I feel my most brave. And it's also the most vulnerable because you are putting yourself out there for criticism, you know?
Exactly.
But I find it interesting that like it's the time when I also get the most kindness from people.
Yeah, that is an interesting duality. Yeah.
And then the other part of it is process, which is what we talk about all the time. Like, I love this concept of everything is process. Like everything is part of your process, whether it's your exact craft or not, you know, because one thing you're going to get inspiration from another. And when you piece everything together, like it just all is part of it. It's all your essence. It's all the layers, and we're all a walking collage.
Exactly.
You know?
And it makes sense at the end when you look back and you're like, oh, that's why that had to happen. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been the same result.
Right.
And that also, I think, helps us understand, like, I don't wish anything was different. Like, finally, I really am making peace with the way things have worked out till this day. And like I've made peace with my dad, with my mom, and even though like I always say they were very loving people, but they were very young. They were my friends, not my parents. I always kind of needed a parent figure. And now that I can feel like myself being that for me, and I think that's also a reason why I don't have kids yet, if I'm ever going to. I mean, I needed to feel like I had gone through all these things first because I didn't love myself. How can I teach another human being how to love themselves if I'm not in that state? I was in a state of a lot of regret, anger, and trying to put up a face that wasn't real. So now I'm like, if I'm ever gonna be a mother, I want to make sure like it's in me, that maternity. Because my mom said, when I was 16 and I got pregnant with you, I was the happiest. I was like, really? Really, Mom? She's like, I always wanted to be a mom. I never had that in me until now. I'm like, it's so beautiful to feel like that, you know, maternity towards some, and I have my beautiful nephew Leo as well. I gave that name. I was like, please name him Leo. He's also a year and months old, and he is the first time I felt like, oh my gosh, a human being that I love more than myself. But still wasn't feeling the maternity, and it's very fresh in me that I'm like, I look at myself in the mirror, and not from an ego self, but I'm like, you're so beautiful. Oh my God, look at that. You look great. You know, and I'm like, I notice it's my mom saying it to myself, like, you look great. It's not the little girl that is unsure of herself, but it's like this other side that can see beyond, you know, like that sees the best out of my whole potential and who I am. And so there's like this little shyness in me that doesn't believe it's true, and then there's other higher power there saying, oh, you are amazing, you know, you can do this, and you're strong, and you're beautiful physically and inside, and look at you, you're doing the right thing even when people are not looking at you. And that is now like, I am a good person. I wasn't sure, you know, because of how we are raised to be. This is how you had to look. This is what you need to think. This is being good is saying yes. No, it is not. You know, it depends, and yes should not be for everybody. And that is something new I'm also learning. So
I love that. I also think that what you just said is, number one, the process is the product. It is the product. And then the other thing too is like, I don't think anybody else can give you what you just described. I think we have to do it all for ourselves. You know, like that is what Happy Not Satisfied has meant for us, is that each individually, you have to come to that point and get yourself to that point as yourself. No marriage partner, no friend, no family member can give you that validation and that voice. It has to come from within in your own effort.
Yes.
So it's so beautiful to hear you articulate it in that way, because I identify with that. And it clearly, you have done so much over the past many years. And like, anybody can though. And I think that's a lot of what we hear is like, well, you have this lifestyle, so you can make that happen. Or you've had, you don't have kids, so you have time to make that happen. Or you're so lucky that and when enough is enough for yourself, Yes. And you can't go on another day until you do something to change it. And you felt it, I've felt it, you felt it. Yeah. And I'm grateful that we have, because, there's just a different level of peace now that I feel that I did not ever before.
No, and I think something very amazing from you guys' partnership, beyond the fact that you are both artists, is that you guys have helped to grow together and seen like the best and the worst. And I think that's the beautiful thing I have understood about relationships, even if it's a romantic relationship or friendships, is like when people love you at your lowest, and they still pick you up and want you, and because they can see your potential and what you have done and what you do in them, because that's, I think, key. Like what people bring out of you, it speaks about them too.
Absolutely.
Like if you and him bring the best out of each other, your kid is going to see that. And no matter the lows and the highs, like a kid always needs to see their parents love each other and they feel loved, no matter the things good or bad that happened. That is something you guys already have, and it's beautiful. And I think for the world out there, and for myself now I am in a very healthy, beautiful relationship, and I feel like it's not about using people or giving yourself for somebody else. It's about sharing the best version and the worst version, and then hopefully it clicks, because if your worst can help another bring the best out of them, like the strength that they didn't see before, because now they have somebody they love and they want to push them up. I think that's something in every friendship and in every relationship we need to look for. People, like surrounding ourselves with people that bring the best, and when they see us low, they do not allow us to stay there. They kind of say, okay, embrace it, I'll give you 5 minutes, 5 days, but after that you're better than this. We need that encouragement. And that's the kind of people we need to surround ourselves with, instead of the people that give in to our worst. Like if you are into something that you want to overcome, in my personal opinion, it's codependency. I'm not gonna get with somebody that has the same issue and wants me to be like more codependent, and he or she is using that against me. You want people that see your flaws and they do not poke you in there, like it's a scar. Do not touch it. Let it heal. And there's people that make those scars never heal. So surrounding ourselves with people that see the best and see the scars, and they love us and wants us healing, that's the best kind of people to surround ourselves with. So beautiful to be in your podcast. So thank you. That was me going around just to say thanks.
Thank you. Those were some of the most beautiful words I could have ever wished to describe us or interpret how we've been in each other's friendships.
The lows are there.
The lows are there. The lows are there.
You are right. That
sometimes
we have kind of figured out our way through that.
No, it is. That's such a kind but beautifully eloquent way of describing partnerships that really bring the best out of us, and what to hopefully, it's like sharing that with the other person and everything all the time. And I don't know, that was just so beautiful.
I mean, we should wrap this up, but like obviously you're an incredible artist and super successful with that, but man, you are a very special person.
Oh, so special.
And your way of talking about issues that are not easy to not just talk about, but put into words in a succinct, clear way, you're incredibly good at that.
Oh, thank you.
And just sitting here listening to you. And I mean, English isn't your first language. Besides the accent, I would not guess that, because it's just so eloquent and so thoughtful. And you had these like little phrases that came out that I don't even know if you said, that I was like, I'm going to tattoo that on my forehead. Like, that was so good. Like, you have a really special gift that you're sharing with the world. And I hope you have opportunities to open up like this more, because it's a special gift. And I'm so thrilled that we had this opportunity to sit with you.
Guys.
Well,
thank you so much.
If anything, we have to have dinner parties more.
Yes.
So that we can do this for hours and hours and hours.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, that's what I love, like hanging out with people that make me think differently, that we can have a few things in common, but also that expand my mindset, and I think conversations like this that are real, that are about pain, but not in a sad, poor
victim
me
way.
kind of thing. Is more
Making
like
rejection your friend has lived in my brain since you said that. That was so like, I wanted to come back to it, but there were so many amazing things. But that's a perfect example of what you're saying. Like, on the surface, rejection is bad, but you can recalibrate to see it as a way to move forward and actually be productive in your life.
Yes, and I think of it like there's always when you finalize a project and you truly want the truth, you look for that one person that is not nice at saying things but want the best for you.
Yeah.
And that's to me rejection. Like, when something doesn't come out, I like to think, why? Was it the crowd? Was it my way of approaching it? Was it, like there's something to learn from this. So it's not just a rejection and that's it. Put that in my mind. No, it's like, so what is in here that I can learn from it to make it better? Maybe not for this person or for this crowd, but for the next project.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we should wrap this up. I mean, I feel like we can keep going.
We could go for hours.
A 3-hour session here. But super important, though. Where can people find you and your work and get to know more about you?
So on my website, DiZurita.com, I have all my artwork, my future events, and I teach art classes. You can also book some in there.
Cool.
And then social media is in there. But basically, TikTok and Instagram, it's Gio.DiZurita. And I'm always there either making paintings or dancing for fun and doing something silly just to pass my 5 minutes of relaxing. I can't relax. I make TikToks for it.
Oh, yeah. You are great on TikTok and Instagram. Follow Gio. Well, thank you so much for being with us. And also follow us at happy.notsatisfied. We cannot wait for the next time we get to sit down and do this.
I'm very excited that we did this and that this is going to be the start of a new and longer friendship.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Gio.
you.